Welcome back, folks. It's been less than 1 year since a jury acquitted Kyle Rittenhouse of the charges that accused him of homicide after defending himself with his firearm during those 2020 Kenosha riots. Who could forget those pictures of those rioters chasing him down and him defending himself? So what has happened to Kyle since? Well, you'll remember the media desperately tried to paint him as a murderer and a white supremacist, despite him being innocent of any crime or any of those things. Watch.
Kyle Rittenhouse, he murdered 2 people, by the way.
Rittenhouse is basically what you would have had in a school shooter.
Kyle Rittenhouse, a vigilante.
Kyle Rittenhouse, the armed teenage vigilante.
A 17-year-old vigilante, arguably a domestic terrorist, picked up a rifle, drove to a different state to shoot people.
You see the 17-year-old who was radicalized by Trumpism, took his AR-15 to Kenosha and became a killer.
A white, Trump-supporting, MAGA-loving, Blue Lives Matter social media partisan.
Kyle Rittenhouse is the enemy.
Is the enemy. You hear what they did? They called him a murderer. They called him radicalized. They make him out to be some kind of a racist. All lies. See, that smear campaign by the media is why Kyle Rittenhouse is now gearing up to unleash a legal barrage of lawsuits against those who he insists defamed him. His lawyers say it's time now to, quote, make the media pay for the lies and the insults leveled against Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse joins us now with an update along with his attorney, Todd McMurtry. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Kyle, let me start with you. Since your acquittal, I guess even before, what has this been like to witness these smears against you day in and day out?
Well, Grant, thank you for having me. And it's been really difficult, the lies that were told about me. I can't live a normal life. I've accepted that, but what they did to me was wrong. And I just started realizing how bad it was, but the media has been doing this for years now.
Yeah, they sure have. So let me ask you, Todd, who are you going after here? I've seen Facebook, I've seen Instagram, some of these media personalities. Who's on the list here?
Well, I think of the people that you showed in the introduction are probably all on the list. I think you summarized it pretty well at the beginning, and that is that in certain circumstances, calling somebody a murderer is actionable for defamation. Calling somebody a white supremacist without any information to support that contention is likely actionable. With regard to Facebook, we do know that Mark Zuckerberg came out early in the process and said that Facebook had investigated what was going on in Kenosha and determined it was a mass murder event. The FBI defines mass murder as a situation where 4 or more people are killed, and that clearly didn't apply to Kyle's circumstances. So we see that as defamatory. And as well, Section 230, which generally protects social media platforms from legal action when it takes down things that are lewd or violent or lascivious or otherwise objectionable, that doesn't apply to taking down positive comments about Kyle that show that he was innocent, as a jury determined. So the things that would have been good for people to see about Kyle, which would have been good for his reputation, which would have shown that he acted in self-defense, were suppressed, but the lies were trumpeted by people on Facebook and others, and we're going to look into all those circumstances.
Well, there were certainly outlets out there, Newsmax being one of them, that tried to tell both sides of the story and certainly even come to your defense in many cases, Kyle. We did that on this program because for me as a gun owner specializing in personal protection, you acted fearing for your life here. What would you like the media to learn out of this lawsuit? Look, I understand that money is the only thing that'll make them pay here. What is ultimately what you want out of this lawsuit?
Well, Grant, I don't want this to happen again. This is unacceptable. The media cannot do this, and especially to kids my age, like how they did to Nick. They didn't learn from him, and it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now.
Yeah, of course, you're talking about Nick Sandman, the other gentleman who got caught up with the American Indians, and that turned out to be a giant hoax. Look, Todd, one of the things you mentioned, Kyle Rittenhouse is not a public figure. Certainly he wasn't when he was arrested for these crimes. There are protections for a public figure. This was just a kid. And they went after him with vitriol and vigor that almost seemed to be evil in its form, the way they went after him.
Yeah, it strikes me as it was, it's narrative building. I think that the media and the Twitterati especially enjoy destroying young men such as Nick Salmon and Kyle Rittenhouse, because I think that they believe that it scares everyone to death. So people are scared about what's going to happen to them, scared about what's going to happen to their children, and so they become conformist out of fear. And so I think that there is a broader purpose behind the media's conduct. And yes, I agree that Kyle was a private figure at that time. After he was charged with a crime, he may have lost that protection, but we're going to investigate that and determine for sure what his status was at the various points. But either way, when you're making stuff up and when you've got the facts wrong and when the correct facts are easily found and all around you, I think that type of conduct rises to the level of actual malice that's necessary to hold a lot of these people accountable. We're going to have to test this out. Things like this are newer types of cases that deal with narrative and so forth, and we're going to test those in the courts.
Yeah. Well, certainly it sure looked like malice to me from an outsider's perspective. Kyle, lastly, for all the people that were watching those media members, those idiots spewing absolute lies about you, if they were watching this program, just an everyday viewer, what would you want them to know about Kyle Rittenhouse that the media wasn't telling them back then?
Well, none of it's true. I'm not a white supremacist. I'm not a vigilante. You can go to tmap.org. That's tmap.org, where we have a lot of the facts posted on there. And you can help us. You can help by supporting us, because this is going to be an expensive journey to hold them accountable. And that I'm willing to have a conversation with any of these people. Just please reach out, but none of them have.
Yeah. It's so funny how they're willing to spew stuff, but when it comes down to actually talking with people, they don't want to do that. Kyle Rittenhouse, Todd McMurtry, thank you both for coming on the program. Keep up the good work. We'll see you again soon.